The Vexeri Confederation's massive ship broke through Earth's cloud cover on a stormy October morning in 2087, its iridescent hull reflecting lightning strikes in a dazzling display that left millions of onlookers breathless. The ship hovered over the United Nations headquarters in New York, its size blocking the sun and casting a literal shadow over humanity's future. Standing nearly 3 meters tall with chitinous exoskeletons that could withstand extreme temperatures and pressures, the Vexeri representatives emerged from their vessel with an unmistakable air of superiority. Their translucent armor contained constantly shifting bioluminescent patterns, a living language that human translators scrambled to decode. "We come bearing gifts of knowledge," announced their leader through a translation device, though the slight tilt of its angular head suggested something closer to pity. Dr. Elena Rice, Earth's foremost xenobiologist, whose revolutionary work on convergent evolution had earned her the Nobel Prize, was assigned as scientific liaison. 3 weeks after the initial contact, Commander Zulfar, the Vexeri diplomatic representative, made an unusual request. "Show me your world's hunters," he demanded. "I wish to understand what passes for predators on this gentle sphere." Elena led him through the Maasai Mara Reserve in Kenya, where a pride of lions had just made a kill. As the lions tore into their prey, Zulfar clicked his mandibles in what Elena's translator identified as laughter. "These are your planet's deadliest hunters," he asked, casually picking up a rock and crushing it to powder between 3 digits. "On our primary colony world, our juveniles keep more fearsome creatures as companions." When a bull elephant trumpeted a warning nearby, Zulfar seemed briefly interested, then dismissive. Large, but slow. Predictable. The Vexeri revealed they had been studying Earth's ecosystems remotely for decades and found them quaint and evolutionarily stunted. Elena's fists clenched at her sides, but she maintained her composure. In her earpiece, Admiral Chen whispered, "Learn everything you can. Their condescension is a tactical advantage." The tour continued through Earth's most impressive wildlife preserves. The Vexeri commander showed momentary interest in the saltwater crocodiles of Australia's Northern Territory, studying their ambush techniques with clinical detachment before declaring them primitive but adequate for a low-competition environment. In the Amazon rainforest, a jaguar's stealth and power elicited only a dismissive wave of his upper appendages. "Your predators lack innovation," he remarked, studying footage of the cat's hunting technique. "Millions of years, and they still rely on the same strategies." Elena bit back her scientific arguments about evolutionary optimization and niche specialization. Instead, she asked innocent questions about Vexeri biology, collecting valuable intelligence with each condescending response. When Zulfar's attention turned to smaller predators, the wolves, the hyenas, the wild dogs, his dismissal became even more pronounced. "Pack hunters," he noted with derision, compensating for individual weakness through primitive cooperation. Their final stop was a special research station in Tanzania, where zoologists studied smaller predatory mammals. Zulfar barely glanced at the enclosures, his attention clearly waning. "I have seen enough," he announced, towering over Elena. "Your world breeds soft predators because it offers little challenge. The Confederation's ecological specialists will submit recommendations for introducing superior species to elevate your evolutionary track." As the alien turned to leave, something caught his compound eye. Movement in a reinforced enclosure set apart from the others. Inside, a small black and white creature was systematically destroying enrichment equipment designed to withstand the strength of animals twice its size. "What is that creature?" he asked, more curious than impressed. "Just a honey badger," Elena replied casually. "Nothing special by Confederation standards, I'm sure." Later that night, as Elena debriefed Admiral Chen in a secure facility beneath Geneva, she transmitted her observations about Vexeri physiological responses and behavioral patterns. "They're arrogant," Chen noted, studying the data. "That's useful." "They've classified Earth as a Category 3 biosphere," Elena added. Developmentally immature. Chen's weathered face remained impassive. And the honey badger? You flagged that interaction specifically. Alina smiled for the first time since the aliens arrived. The only Earth creature that genuinely puzzled him. Something about its behavior pattern didn't fit their evolutionary models. Interesting, Chen murmured. Very interesting indeed. The Global Unity Summit in Singapore transformed from a diplomatic gathering into a spectacle when Commander Zulfar interrupted the proceedings with a holographic display of creatures from 17 worlds. The monstrosities, scaled, tentacled, and chitinous, ripped through prey with horrifying efficiency as Earth's leaders watched in stunned silence. On behalf of the Confederation's 17 sentient species, Zulfar announced, towering over the human delegates, "We propose a tournament of biological excellence, a controlled combat exhibition between Earth's predators and creatures from our allied worlds." The massive alien leaned forward, his exoskeleton creaking. A friendly cultural exchange, he called it, his translator struggling to match his tone. To celebrate diversity of evolution. But the smug tilt of his head made the subtext clear. To demonstrate the superiority of extraterrestrial evolution. In closed chambers beneath the summit, the newly formed United Earth Council erupted into chaos. "This is deliberately humiliating," argued the Brazilian representative, pounding her fist on the table. "They showcase their monsters, then invite our animals to be slaughtered. But refusing makes us appear weak," countered the Nigerian delegate, "and we lose a unique opportunity to study their biology." Admiral Wei Chen, the taciturn head of Earth's unified defensive forces, had remained silent until now. His weathered face revealed nothing as he pulled up classified intelligence on his tablet. "Their ships have scanned every centimeter of our planet," he said quietly. "But they've kept their biological details classified under cultural privacy protocols." The Kenyan representative leaned forward. "You're suggesting this is reconnaissance?" "I'm suggesting," Chen replied, "that in 17 first contact scenarios we've decoded from their historical archives, this exact exhibition preceded classification of species into hierarchical categories." He displayed a complex chart from stolen Vexari databanks. Categories that determined future relationships. "You mean conquest," stated the Russian diplomat flatly. "They don't call it that," Chen corrected. "Their term translates roughly to biological resource integration." The chamber fell silent as implications sank in. The Swiss representative broke the silence. "So we refuse this demeaning challenge." "No," Chen said, standing. "We accept. But on our terms, with our chosen representatives." His eyes scanned the room. "And we use this opportunity to send a message they won't forget." The Vexari specified the matches would take place on a terraformed arena on Mars' surface, with Earth-like conditions in a massive biodome they would construct as a gesture of goodwill. Each participating species could send 3 predator types. The first exhibition was scheduled for 6 months later, barely enough time for Earth to prepare. As the official announcement was made, markets tumbled worldwide while military recruitment surged. The public narrative positioned the event as a sporting exhibition, but survival preparations accelerated globally. Underground shelters, originally designed for climate disasters, were quietly expanded. Alina caught Admiral Chen in the corridor outside the council chambers. "What aren't you telling everyone?" she demanded. Chen showed her surveillance footage of a Vexari scout ship collecting specimens of Earth insects. "They're analyzing our venom compounds, our diseases, our parasites," he said grimly. "This isn't just a tournament. It's reconnaissance." Alina's face hardened. "Then we need better contestants than they're expecting." "Exactly." Chen handed her a classified security badge. "Effective immediately. You're heading Project Melivora. Unlimited resources, total secrecy. Project Melivora. Named after that unimpressive creature from Tanzania." Chen's lips formed the ghost of a smile. "The honey badger's scientific classification. What exactly are you proposing?" Alina asked, though she already suspected. The Vexeri expect us to send our largest, most obvious predators: lions, bears, sharks. But those aren't the species that truly represent Earth's evolutionary ingenuity. Chen's eyes narrowed. I want you to find me Earth's most relentless fighters. The ones that survive against impossible odds. The ultimate underdogs, Alina murmured, understanding dawning. Exactly. Let's show them what happens when you corner Earth's feces. Chen turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Alina, make sure they never see it coming. The Kilimanjaro Research Station, once Africa's premier wildlife conservation center, transformed overnight into humanity's most critical scientific installation. Hidden laboratories extended 6 levels below the mountain's surface, where Dr. Rice had assembled an elite team. Zoologists, military strategists, behavioral psychologists, and evolutionary biologists from every continent. Dr. Rice positioned herself before a circular holographic display showing detailed anatomical scans of Earth's apex predators. Our first instinct is to send our largest carnivores, she explained to the assembled scientists. But size and strength aren't winning factors against Vexari bioforms. Colonel Amara Okafor, formerly of the Pan-African Special Forces, enlarged a hologram showing Vexari physiological data they'd managed to gather through covered scans. Their exoskeletons have tensile strength comparable to carbon fiber, she noted. Our conventional predators' teeth and claws would barely penetrate. Then we need unconventional predators, stated Dr. Sanjay Patel, the team's evolutionary specialist. He highlighted patterns in the data from Alina's interactions with Zulfar. The Vexeri showed dismissal of our traditional apex predators: lions, sharks, crocodiles. But their response to smaller persistence hunters was different. Not fear, but confusion. Because persistence doesn't fit their evolutionary model, Alina realized. Their homeworld has triple Earth's gravity. Energy efficiency is paramount. Extended pursuits would be wasteful. Dr. Kwame Osai, the world's foremost ethologist, stepped forward with a tablet displaying behavioral analysis. They respect direct power and speed, but they show contempt for what they call wasteful evolutionary traits. Our predators' endurance, adaptability, and problem-solving. Because those are human traits, Alina understood suddenly. They're not just dismissing our animals. They're dismissing us. The team pivoted their search toward creatures that embody humanity's own approach to survival: adaptability, tenacity, and unpredictability. In a secure facility beneath the Serengeti, Dr. Osei keyed in a command that brought up high-definition footage on the main screen. The video showed a honey badger, a Ratel, facing down a pride of lions over a kill. Despite being outsized and outnumbered, the small creature charged directly at the pride, scattering lions 10 times its size through sheer audacity. What you're witnessing isn't just courage, Osei explained. It's evolutionary brilliance. He brought up physiological scans. Their skin is loose, allowing them to twist and fight even when grabbed. They possess remarkable immunity to venom and toxins. Their bite force, relative to body size, exceeds almost any mammal. The screen split to show multiple clips: a honey badger driving a full-grown leopard from its kill, another surviving bites from venomous snakes, a third digging through solid earth with astonishing speed to reach prey. But their most remarkable trait, Osei continued, his voice rising with intensity, is neurological. Brain scans appeared on screen. They possess an almost supernatural ability to continue fighting despite injuries that would incapacitate other animals. They simply refuse to acknowledge defeat as a possibility. Alina stared at the scans, recognition dawning. Just like humans. Dr. Tanaka, the team's biomechanics expert, moved forward. There's more. He displayed comparative motion studies. Their attack patterns are unpredictable, almost chaotic. They seem to improvise tactics that confound larger predators' defense mechanisms. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. Meanwhile, in low Earth orbit, a stealth satellite captured infrared images of Vexeri ships. Admiral Chen studied them in his secure office as his analysis team compiled data. Their exoskeletons show minimal thermal regulation, his science officer reported, and their movements suggest joints optimized for power, not flexibility. Chen nodded. They evolved on a high-gravity world with few natural predators, he concluded. They developed incredible strength and durability, but potentially lack certain survival instincts. The officer finished, particularly against smaller, quicker threats that employ unpredictable attack patterns. Chen smiled thinly as he encrypted the findings and sent them to Alina with a single message. Project Mellivora is approved. Full genetic and behavioral analysis of the honey badger. Priority Alpha. Beneath the Serengeti Plains, Dr. Rice swiped her palm across a biometric scanner. Reinforced doors parted to reveal the true focus of Earth's efforts, a specialized habitat complex housing a colony of Ratels, honey badgers, engaged in activities that pushed the boundaries of their already remarkable capabilities. 3 months until the exhibition, Alina announced to the assembled team leaders. Status reports, please. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, Earth's leading genetic specialist, brought up molecular models on the central display. We've mapped the honey badger genome completely, he explained. Their DNA contains natural adaptations we've never seen in other mammals, particularly in their immune response and pain suppression systems. On wall-sized screens, microscopic imagery showed cellular structures unlike anything in standard biology textbooks. Their dermis has a collagen matrix twice as dense as comparable mammals, Tanaka continued, yet it maintains extraordinary flexibility. Dr. Fatima Al-Zahawi, the metabolic specialist, highlighted biochemical pathways. Their mitochondrial efficiency exceeds our projections, she reported, and their adrenal response to threat stimuli is unique, increased performance without the typical fatigue cascade. Alina nodded, then gestured toward the observation window where a honey badger systematically dismantled an enrichment puzzle designed for great apes and their cognitive development. Dr. Patel stepped forward. We're using accelerated operant conditioning combined with social learning techniques, he explained. Not modification that would violate competition rules, but optimization of their natural abilities. Through another observation panel, 3 honey badgers cooperated to overcome an obstacle course that reconfigured itself every 30 seconds, communicating through subtle vocalizations and body language that the team was still decoding. They're demonstrating rudimentary tactical coordination, Dr. Osi noted with barely contained excitement, something never observed in wild Ratels. It's not just their physical capabilities evolving, it's their problem-solving approach. And this is legal under competition rules. Alina pressed. Absolutely, confirmed Dr. Yuki Nakamura, their legal expert. The Vexari's own regulations define acceptable preparation as enhancement through natural selection pressure and conditioning. They never imagined we could compress generations of evolutionary pressure into months. Alina watched as a honey badger in a separate enclosure confronted a mechanical adversary programmed to mimic Drakmor attack patterns. Instead of retreating from the much larger opponent, the Ratel circled, feinted, then attacked from an unexpected angle. They're learning, she whispered. On day 47 of the project, during a routine training session, Alina slammed her tablet down on the conference table. The room fell silent. This is ethically indefensible, she argued. We're weaponizing animals to fight battles with an intelligent species. How are we better than the Vexari? Dr. Osei leaned forward. Alina, these aren't ordinary animals. Honey badgers already engage in these behaviors naturally. We're simply providing environmental enrichment that refines existing instincts. Enrichment that prepares them for combat, Alina countered. The laboratory doors slid open as Admiral Chen entered, his expression grim. He activated a secure holographic display showing footage from 17 worlds. This is classified beyond top secret, he said quietly. Obtained at great cost from Vexari historical archives. The 3-dimensional images showed a pattern repeated across multiple civilizations, initial contact, cultural exchanges, biological exhibitions, and then resource extraction, with native species reduced to biological components in Vexari technology. This isn't just a tournament, Chen explained, zooming in on particularly disturbing imagery of once sentient beings. It's their standard protocol before they assess a species' potential usefulness in their hierarchy. Those deemed inferior become client races or biological resources. Alina stared at the honey badgers, now working in coordinated patterns that even the project's behavioral experts hadn't anticipated. One created a distraction, while two others systematically dismantled a complex obstacle. We're not weaponizing them against a peaceful species, Chen added softly. We're letting them show the Vexari what happens when you corner Earth's species. Alina nodded slowly, a new resolve hardening in her eyes. Then let's make sure they deliver that message clearly. The Mars arena rose from the red desert like an impossible mirage, a massive biodome shimmering against the rust-colored landscape. Earth's delegation arrived aboard a Vexari transport vessel, ushered through pristine corridors where representatives from 17 spacefaring civilizations mingled, their diverse physiologies accommodated by specialized environmental controls. Elena observed the gathering through the practiced eyes of a xenobiologist. The Moritz, with their crystalline exoskeletons that refracted light into communication patterns. The gelatinous Korin, who flowed through specialized channels in the floor. The insectoid Zithrak, whose compound eyes followed humans with undisguised curiosity. They're all client species, Admiral Chen whispered, maintaining his diplomatic smile. Notice the Vexari handlers accompanying each delegation. The opening ceremony featured holographic displays of each participating world's evolutionary history. The Vexari presentation lasted 3 times longer than any other, showcasing their supremacy as apex predators of their homeworld. Commander Zulthar stood at the center of the arena, his exoskeleton polished to a mirror shine. We welcome our newest galactic neighbors to this celebration of biological excellence, he announced. May this exhibition demonstrate the rich diversity of evolutionary paths throughout our confederation. The subtext was clear in the superior tilt of his head, to demonstrate who belonged at the top of the galactic hierarchy. The Vexari presented their champions to thunderous applause. The Drakmor, a 6-limbed tentacled predator with bone-crushing strength, the Silverith, a feline-like hunter with chameleon capabilities, and the Noor Swarm, a collective organism of flying creatures that hunted in perfect coordination. When Earth's champions were introduced, a Bengal tiger, a saltwater crocodile, and a pack of African wild dogs, polite but noticeably subdued applause followed. Several alien spectators audibly clicked or chirped in what Elena recognized as dismissive laughter. The first match pitted Earth's Bengal tiger against the Silverith in a forested section of the arena. Despite the tiger's power and speed, it grew increasingly frustrated as its opponent blended with the manufactured terrain. After 20 minutes of the tiger slashing at shadows, the Silverith materialized behind it and delivered a precise strike to the spine. The tiger fought valiantly, but was ultimately outmatched. In Earth's delegation section, Dr. Tanaka whispered, "They're recording every movement, every biological response. This isn't entertainment, it's data collection." The saltwater crocodile lasted longer against the Drakmor in a flooded arena section. Its ambush tactics initially confused the alien predator, but once the Drakmor adapted, its superior strength allowed it to pry open the crocodile's jaws and force submission. The African wild dogs showed the most promise against the Noor Swarm, their coordinated pack tactics initially disrupting the collective's formations. For a brief moment, Elena felt hope surge as the dogs cornered several swarm members. Then, in a display of chilling intelligence, the swarm adapted, mimicking, and then countering the pack's strategies until the exhausted canines retreated. In the Earth delegation section, reporters transmitted somber updates to anxious viewers back home. Public morale, already fragile, plummeted with each defeat. Commander Zulfar approached Dr. Reyes after the third loss, his movements conveying unmistakable satisfaction despite his formal words. Your world's predators perform as expected, with heart, but little effectiveness, he said, mandibles clicking softly. Their neural structures seem incapable of adaptation during combat, perhaps in a few million years of proper evolution. Admiral Chen tensed beside Alina, his hand instinctively moving toward where a weapon would be if they were permitted to carry them. We have one more competitor, Alina replied, her voice steady despite the hammering of her heart. A late substitution permitted under Section 12 of your exhibition protocols. Zulfar's compound eyes narrowed. A fourth contestant. That would be highly irregular. Not a fourth species, Alina corrected, sliding a data tablet toward him. A replacement for our third entry. Your rules permit substitutions up to 1 hour before the final match. As Zulfar examined the submission, his mandibles stilled. The first time Alina had seen the overconfident alien speechless. The tablet displayed a small black and white creature with the scientific designation, Mellivora capensis. This inconsequential specimen, he finally managed. Alina smiled thinly. We call it the honey badger, though you might remember it as the Ratel. The arena fell silent as a reinforced containment unit was transported to the center. When the doors slid open, spectators leaned forward in confusion. Standing in the middle of the vast combat area was a seemingly unimpressive creature barely reaching the knee height of the Vexori representatives. The honey badger's black and white fur ruffled in the artificial breeze as it calmly surveyed its surroundings, showing none of the fear or aggression expected of an animal in a strange environment. Whispers spread through the audience as translator devices struggled to keep up with the various languages expressing disbelief and amusement. Several Confederation diplomats openly laughed, creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and rumbles. Commander Zulfar's facial appendages twitched rapidly in what Alina had learned was their expression of incredulous amusement. He turned to the Earth delegation, mandibles clicking rapidly. You send a rodent to face the Confederation's apex predators, he asked, his translator barely capturing the mixture of disbelief and condescension in his harmonics. It's not a rodent, Alina corrected, standing to address both Zulfar and the now attentive audience. It's a honey badger, or as it's scientifically known, Mellivora capensis, the Ratel. On the massive display screens surrounding the arena, information about the honey badger appeared, its weight, size, and habitat, deliberately omitting its behavioral characteristics and hunting capabilities. The Vexari delegation conferred briefly before Zulfar announced their champion for this ceremonial final match. A juvenile drachmor, still twice the size of the honey badger, but smaller than the adult that had defeated the crocodile. The choice was a deliberate insult, implying the match wasn't worth their prime competitor's time. As the juvenile drachmor entered the arena from the opposite side, its 6 tentacle-like limbs rippling with muscle beneath iridescent scales, the honey badger remained motionless, watching. The alien predator circled once, apparently confused by the lack of fear response from its prey. The match began with the drachmor charging forward, tentacles extended to seize what it assumed would be a quick victory. The audience leaned forward, expecting a swift conclusion. What followed shocked the assembled galactic community into absolute silence. The Ratel didn't flee or freeze. It charged directly at the much larger predator, covering ground with surprising speed. When the drachmor's tentacles shot out to ensnare it, the honey badger twisted with impossible flexibility inside its loose skin, its thick hide resisting puncture from the alien's claws. Before the drachmor could adjust, the Ratel had latched onto one tentacle with razor-sharp teeth, tearing through tough alien hide with unexpected ease. The drachmor shrieked, a sound none of the assembled aliens had heard from the species before, and tried to shake free its smaller attacker. The honey badger held on, systematically damaging the limb before dropping and immediately charging again, targeting a different appendage. Dr. Osai whispered to Alina, It's identifying joint structures and nerve clusters through tactile assessment. We never programmed that specific behavior. The alien predator switched tactics, trying to use its superior weight to crush the mammal. The Ratel simply slipped aside and counterattacked from a different angle, seeming to learn from each exchange. Its ferocity appeared completely disproportionate to its size, fighting as though it were the larger predator. After 15 minutes of increasingly desperate combat, the juvenile Dracmore tried a new approach. It secreted a paralytic toxin from specialized glands, a capability the Vexeri had concealed during pre-exhibition briefings. The honey badger paused momentarily as the toxin took effect, its movements slowing. The Vexeri delegation's bioluminescent patterns brightened in anticipation of victory. Then, astonishingly, the Ratel's metabolism processed the compound. Within seconds, it resumed its attack with undiminished ferocity, now targeting the toxin-producing glands with surgical precision. After 30 minutes of brutal combat, the exhausted Dracmore retreated to the edge of the arena, 3 of its tentacles bleeding from multiple wounds. The honey badger, despite injuries of its own, continued its relentless advance, showing no signs of fatigue or mercy. The Dracmore's handler activated the emergency retreat signal. For the first time in the tournament's history, a Confederation predator had conceded a match. As stunned silence gave way to murmurs of disbelief, Alina caught sight of something she never expected to see. Fear in the compound eyes of Commander Zulfar as he watched the small Earth predator continue to search for its retreated opponent, unwilling to accept that the fight was over. The Confederation representatives erupted in heated debate, their various biological communication methods creating a cacophony of sounds, scents, and bioluminescent displays. The victory of the Ratel had shattered expectations and protocols. In the center of the diplomatic storm stood Commander Zulfar, his exoskeleton now flushed with colors that Alina's translator identified as signaling both agitation and authority. "This result is anomalous," he declared, towering over the human delegation. "The juvenile Dracmore was unprepared for your species' unusual attack patterns. We demand a rematch with our adult champion." The true test of evolutionary superiority. Alina exchanged a swift glance with Admiral Chen, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. They had anticipated this possibility, though they'd hoped to avoid it. "The Earth delegation accepts your challenge," Alina announced formally, her voice amplified throughout the arena. The Earth spectators gasped. Even they hadn't been informed of a contingency plan. Behind closed doors, Dr. Osei examined the honey badger, now recovering in a specialized medical pod. "The damage is significant," he reported grimly. 3 cracked ribs, a partially torn muscle in the right forelimb, and evidence of toxin effects on the peripheral nervous system. "Will it recover in time?" Chen asked. "Not alone," Osei replied. "But we prepared for this." Within the hour, the arena was reconfigured. The massive adult Dracmore, 3 times larger than the juvenile, with armored plates along its tentacles and serrated edges on its primary hunting appendages, entered from one side. Battle scars crisscrossed its hide, testament to countless successful hunts across multiple worlds. From the Earth entrance came not 1 but 3 honey badgers, including the victor from the previous match, still bearing wounds that should have left it incapacitated. "A pack," Zulfar objected, mandibles clicking rapidly. "The rules specify." "The rules specify 1 species," Alina corrected, displaying the exact regulation on her data tablet. "Not 1 individual. Your Noor swarm consisted of 17 entities working as a collective." The Vexeri commander's exoskeleton briefly flashed patterns that her translator couldn't interpret, but she recognized them as colors associated with frustration. What followed was recorded and later studied in military academies across Earth, a masterclass in asymmetric warfare against a superior opponent. The Ratel separated immediately, forcing the massive Dracmore to divide its attention across multiple targets. "Look at their coordination," whispered Dr. Patel. We never explicitly trained this formation. The honey badgers targeted specific vulnerable points identified during the first match, working with an uncanny coordination that belied their reputation as solitary hunters. When one Ratel was injured by a powerful strike from a serrated tentacle, another immediately created a distraction, charging directly at the predator's sensory organs with seemingly suicidal courage, while the third attacked from behind. Halfway through the match, the Drakmor deployed its full arsenal of biological weapons: toxic sprays, ultrasonic disorientation pulses, and bioluminescent flashes designed to trigger seizures in mammalian brains. Technologies the Vexeri had claimed were merely evolutionary adaptations, but which Earth scientists recognized as bioengineered weapons. The honey badgers showed momentary disorientation before their enhanced physiology adapted. Within seconds, they resumed their relentless assault, now targeting the specialized glands and organs producing these effects with surgical precision. In the observation deck, a junior diplomat from the Quarren delegation rippled anxiously. "The Earth creatures fight beyond biological limits," it bubbled through its translator. "It should not be possible." A Morit crystalline being refracted light in a pattern of agreement. They continue despite injuries that would incapacitate rational beings, as if they cannot comprehend defeat. Admiral Chen caught Elena's eye across the chamber. "They're seeing the parallel," he murmured, "between the Ratels and humanity itself." By the match's end, the supposedly invincible Confederation champion lay immobilized on the arena floor, its primary motor functions compromised by coordinated strikes to neural clusters. The three honey badgers, bloodied but undefeated, formed a protective perimeter around their fallen opponent, still alert and ready despite their injuries. The arena fell into stunned silence, broken only by the cheers of the human spectators, their voices seeming small in the vast space, yet carrying a significance that transcended their numbers. In the diplomatic observation deck, Commander Zolfar's bioluminescent patterns faded to a dull gray, a sign that Elena's xenobiology training identified as the Vexeri physiological response to existential dread. "They're not seeing the Ratels anymore," Chen whispered to Elena as the Confederation representatives conferred urgently among themselves. "They're seeing us."